Imagine, if you will, a tranquil evening shattered by the sudden arrival of three black dogs, storming into your home uninvited. The quietude of your sanctuary is broken, the serenity swept away in a whirlwind of chaos and confusion. Our story begins on an evening like any other. The last rays of the setting sun cast long shadows across a peaceful home, nestled in the heart of a quiet neighborhood. The homeowner, a gentle soul, enjoys the comforts of solitude, the soft hum of a radio playing a distant melody, the warmth of a reading lamp casting a soft light on an open book. Then, without warning, the mundane tranquility is disrupted. The door bursts open, and in rushes a trio of black dogs, their eyes gleaming with a mix of curiosity and mischief. They dart around the house like shadows, their paws skidding across the polished wooden floors, their barks echoing through the halls. Items once neatly arranged are swept off shelves, precious collectibles become toys in a game of chase, and antique furniture is assaulted with a fervor that would make a demolition crew blush. The once orderly house now resembles a battlefield, the canine invaders leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. The homeowner, startled by the abrupt intrusion, is initially frozen in disbelief. He watches as his sanctuary is transformed into a war zone, his eyes widening with each new casualty of the canine rampage. But as the reality of the situation sinks in, fear replaces shock. In a desperate bid for safety, the homeowner scrambles to find a place to hide. His eyes land on an old blanket strewn across the couch, a potential shroud against the canine chaos. He grabs it and dives under, his heart pounding in his chest like a drum. And then in the midst of chaos, the homeowner found something unusual. A blanket, seemingly ordinary yet holding a secret within. Hidden under the blanket, the homeowner discovered something unexpected. A gun. A glimmer of hope sparked in the midst of chaos. The once ordinary fabric now veiled an instrument of power, a beacon of control in an uncontrollable situation. Their trembling hands reached under the blanket, hesitating for a moment before clutching onto the cold metallic instrument. Their heart pounded in their chest, the rhythm echoing the ticking of a clock. Time was running out. The barks and growls of the black dogs echoed through the house, a chilling reminder of the havoc that was being wreaked. Their home, once a haven, now transformed into a battlefield. Their mind raced, thoughts whirling in a vortex of fear and uncertainty. But within that whirlwind, a seed of determination began to sprout. They had never held a gun before. The weight of it in their hand felt foreign, alarming. Yet there was a strange sense of comfort in its presence. It was their only defense, the only thing standing between them and the chaos outside the blanket. The cold metal seemed to absorb their fear, replacing it with a surge of adrenaline. A newfound courage began to simmer within them, fueled by the dire circumstances. They knew they had to act. The destruction had to stop. Their home, their sanctuary, was being torn apart by these intruders. They had to reclaim their space, to restore the peace that had been so abruptly shattered. It was a daunting task, one they never imagined they would have to face, but they knew there was no other choice. They clutched the gun tighter, their knuckles whitening under the strain. They could feel the power it held, the authority it commanded. It was a chilling reminder of the gravity of the situation, but it was also their glimmer of hope, their beacon in the darkness, their tool to reclaim control. With their heart pounding, they prepared for the confrontation. With a deep breath and a firm grip, 3 shots rang out in the house. The echo of the gunfire seemed to hang in the air, as if time itself had been frozen in that one suspenseful moment. The homeowner, hidden beneath the blanket, had never felt such a surge of adrenaline. His heart pounded in his chest like a drum, his palms were sweaty against the gun's cool metal. He had fired the weapon, yes, but the outcome was uncertain. He couldn't see the dogs, couldn't hear anything over the ringing in his ears. All he could do was wait and hope that his actions had been enough. There was a pause, a moment of silence that seemed to stretch on for an eternity. The homeowner held his breath, straining to hear any sign of movement. But there was nothing, just the sound of his own heartbeat, deafening in the quiet, and then chaos erupted once more. The dogs, startled by the gunshots, began to scramble. Their claws skittered on the hardwood floor, their barks filled the air, echoing throughout the house. They were unharmed, but their nerves were frayed. Fear had replaced their earlier aggression, and in their panic, they sought an escape. They found it in the open back door, the way they had come in. One by one they dashed out into the night, their forms disappearing into the shadows of the woods. The house fell silent once more, the only sound the echo of their barks fading into the distance. The homeowner, still hidden beneath the blanket, slowly lowered the gun. He was alone again, the threat had been neutralized, but the adrenaline was still coursing through his veins, his heart still pounding in his chest. He was safe, but the shock of the confrontation was still fresh. And so, he sat there, wrapped in the blanket, the gun still warm in his hands. He listened to the silence, to the sounds of his own breathing. He had survived the confrontation, but the night was far from over. The black dogs, unharmed but startled, fled into the woods, leaving the homeowner alone in the silence. Just as the homeowner was catching their breath, a notification popped up. The sound of the alert rang through the now quiet home, a stark contrast to the recent chaos. It was a message, an unexpected message. The homeowner, still trembling with adrenaline, reached out a shaky hand to read it. As the words on the screen began to sink in, a sense of disbelief washed over him. $1 million? He questioned aloud, his voice echoing in the emptiness of the room. The notification was clear, no tricks or gimmicks. It was a reward for facing fear head-on. But $1 million? It was a sum he could hardly even fathom. His heart pounded in his chest, not from fear this time, but from a wild, exhilarating joy. He looked around at the disarray, the wreckage that only moments ago had been a source of dread and despair. Now, it was a symbol of victory, a sign of a courage he didn't know he possessed. And then, laughter. It bubbled up from deep within him, filling the room with its sound. It was the laughter of disbelief, of relief, of pure, unadulterated joy. He was a millionaire, just like that. The thought was almost too much to comprehend. The fear, the terror, the confrontation with the unknown, it had all led to this. $1 million. He thought about the black dogs, their menacing presence now a distant memory. They had brought destruction, yes, but they had also brought with them an unforeseen reward. A reward that would change his life forever. The homeowner found himself feeling almost grateful to the creatures. Without them, he would never have been in this fortunate predicament. It was a strange, unexpected turn of events. The night of terror had turned into a night of triumph. Suddenly, the chaotic evening had taken an unexpected turn. The homeowner was now a millionaire. From the chaos of the intrusion to the shock of the reward, it had been a whirlwind of an evening for the homeowner. The tranquility of the night had been shattered by the unexpected arrival of 3 black dogs, each with a menacing aura of destruction. The once cozy home had been transformed into a battlefield, a stark contrast to the peaceful haven it had once been. The homeowner, who had been enjoying a quiet evening, was thrown into a nightmarish reality. The sight of his beloved residence being torn apart by these intruders was a sight no one would ever wish to behold. His quick thinking and the discovery of the gun under the blanket had offered him a glimmer of hope, a chance to regain control over his own home. And then, the shots rang out, echoing into the silence of the night. The dogs, unharmed but startled, fled into the woods, leaving behind a scene of devastation. Just when it seemed like the worst was over, another surprise awaited the homeowner. A reward notification popped up, $1 million. The shock was immense, the joy unparalleled. In the aftermath of this unexpected ordeal, the homeowner found himself $1 million richer. Who could have anticipated such a turn of events? The origin of the dogs, the reason for the reward, these were questions that remained unanswered. The homeowner, however, was not too concerned with these mysteries. After all, he had a home to rebuild and a life to get back on track. As the sun rose on a new day, the homeowner was left with a destroyed home, a story to tell, and $1 million richer. Sometimes it's the most unexpected events that change our lives forever. This was one such night, a night that started with fear and ended with fortune. A night that will remain etched in the homeowner's memory, a night that changed his life in ways he could never have imagined.